Hello, hello, beautiful people. Welcome to the Sideline Speaks with myself, Brittany Jones, alongside Jason Collins and Kevin Walker. What's going on, K Walker and Jay?
All's well, all's well. Looking forward to a great one.
Everything's good, Britt. Glad we're back on Tuesday night, ready to go. Should be a fun show tonight.
Absolutely. It's a lot going on in the sports world, like it is always around this time of the year. NBA we're in the midst of the NBA season. It's about the third or fourth weekend. NFL, midpoint. Um, NHL, I don't know how many people watch hockey, but NHL
Yeah,
is
not yet, not yet.
already. Yeah, I don't really pay attention to about playoff time. My team sucks anyway right now. Too young. Um, yeah, college basketball, college football. Oh my goodness! Before we know, we'll be right back at track and field and baseball all over again. So, but let's get started on this main topic. First, before we get started, what I would like to say is please subscribe, hit that like button, and share our YouTube channel at The Sideline Speaks. We're also on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Sideline Speaks, and anywhere you can listen to your podcast as well. But guys, we got to get into it. You guys know I like talking about this after a nice victory from my Philadelphia Eagles, and that's it. That's right. You got it. You read everything correctly. We're talking about the Cowboys first. The America's teams, or should I say America's nightmare. Um, as we should know, Cowboys lost to the Eagles 6-34 to now have a 3-6 record. My goodness. They're not doing too hot, guys. They're not doing too hot. My bad if I keep picking. I have hair on my mouth. I don't know where it came from. But that wasn't the story of the last couple of days, I guess you could say. It was more of the Micah Parsons post-game comments. And I'm going to play it here, and I want to get you guys' reactions to his post-game comments. And I have all three comments on this video, but as we go along, I'll go ahead and I'll play each one.
Okay.
So here is his comments right after the game.
Right.
Mike's on the final year of his contract, so outside there's of course going to be questions. What's the sentiment inside the locker room, and what do you tell people who are wondering about whether McCarthy will be your coach next year?
That's above my pay grade about if Mike is coaching again next year. But all coaching aside, Mike can leave and go wherever he wants. But the guys, I kind of feel bad for. Guys like Zach Martin and guys who might be on their last year or on their way out. Because that's who I wanted to hold the trophy for. You want to win games and do great things with those type of legends who put in more time and work than Mike McCarthy ever did. So those are the kind of guys that I have so much sympathy and hurt for.
You guys were 2-2.
Wow. So while praising a player, which we all can appreciate, he kind of just said, what the heck with Mike McCarthy? I don't really care. But give me your thoughts on what he said. Yeah, Jay, I'm gonna start with you.
Yeah, Britt, I see it. I see it from both sides, right? And I like what he said about Zach Martin and some of those guys. So I certainly understand that perspective. But we've talked about it on this show several times, and I know that I've said that I wish Micah Parsons would stop talking so much. I mean, I know now everybody and their mom has a podcast right now, and that's fine. Speak, use your voice. But sometimes I just wish he would stop talking. And, he hadn't played in so long. He's just coming back. And then to kind of come back on the scene with such controversy, it just seems like it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I feel like he could have said all the things he wanted to say and leave McCarthy sort of out of it. And then really that last sentence when he said they've done more than Mike McCarthy ever could have, or however he worded that part looked really, really bad, Britt. But then I guess if you want to look the other side of it is when athletes just give us like the canned cliches, we always say, like, give us something, you're speaking in cliches. Then when somebody tells the truth, it's like, do we really want to hear the truth? So I didn't like it for Micah. I wish maybe he could have worded it a little bit differently. Cool, you're sticking up for your teammates, you're sticking up for your guys, but it just didn't look good. I just You don't see guys coming out and saying that about their head coach a whole lot, Britt. So I think the bigger picture is it just shows you the state of that Cowboys locker room and team. It is an absolute mess right now.
Yeah, I think there is a conversation that may need to be had with Michael Parsons, whether regardless of what his intentions were, he needs to be mindful of how he says certain things. I will say this, I think Mike McCarthy knows who Michael Parsons is way more than we do. So I'll say that. But you still have to be mindful of how you say things. You cannot say basically whatever happens to Mike McCarthy, whatever happens to Mike McCarthy. Like you can't like show some empathy towards your head coach too, just as much as you're showing towards Zach Martin. Because let's be for real, the players on the field is not doing what they need to be doing. And maybe Jerry Jones need to take some accountability in this situation as well, because he didn't put a good team on the field. You're the GM, you're everything to this team apparently, plus the owner. So you're probably the biggest culprit in all of this. But again, you still got to be mindful of how you say things. But K-Rock, what were your thoughts on Michael Parsons' comments post game?
Yeah, I just really thought that Michael Parsons thought he was on his podcast the way he was talking. To be honest with you, you got to know the mic that's in front of you. You got to know the audience, and I guess it really doesn't matter to Michael because he probably thinks that everyone watches his podcast anyway. So he's going to say what he wants to say, how he wants to say it, no matter where he's at, no matter if he's in a locker room or in his little studio, wherever that may be. But yeah, well, to disrespect Mike McCarthy because so many people are calling for his job, he's the reason why. But you can't put that on Mike McCarthy. Believe it or not, at first I was putting it, or we were a lot of people, but I'm talking about myself. We're putting it on Mike McCarthy because we felt like they had the pieces when it was going right. You had the Dak playing well, leading the league at one point in scoring. Yards per, passing yards. You had CeeDee Lamb doing his thing. The offensive line was arguably one of the best offensive lines in the league, if not the best. Then you had the defense with Michael Parsons, Diggs. I mean, when everything was looking well, and they weren't winning when they had the pieces and they weren't winning, everything was on Mike McCarthy. But now everything is just a poop show to, for lack of a better term, now he wants to call out and call Mike McCarthy, knowing you're not there, knowing Dak is out for the rest of the season, the remainder of the season. And then, your offensive line is depleted and your defense is depleted. But now you want to call Mike McCarthy out on this. It's just like not the right time to be calling anyone out. If you're going to call, I don't even think you call Jerry Jones out on this, to be perfectly honest with you, because it's just, with the injuries happening and things of that nature. I'm not, I'm a 49er fan, so we do not like the Cowboys. So what I'm saying is it's not about, if I'm saying it, then it has to be so, because I just can't stand the Cowboys. But what Michael has to be careful what he says, man, because I think he's on his last year of his deal, so he could be up out of there. Maybe that's what he's lobbying for. If you think about it, maybe he wants to be traded. Britt, you mentioned about Jerry Jones, being accountable. Jerry Jones is never going to hold himself accountable unless they win. If he's winning, then it's all Jerry's doing. I brought this guy in, I signed for this guy, I traded for this guy, things of that nature. But when it's all going wrong, Jerry just hides behind the curtain, if you will. I think they were talking about a curtain. There's something going on in the stadium. I'm just trying to use that little pun there. There's something going on about a curtain in the stadium, and he's not going to change it or remove it, whatever the case may be. I guess that one of you guys has. But anyway, but nonetheless, yeah, I think Michael just got to be careful what he says, right, man. I don't think he's going to be careful, to be honest with you, because you guys mentioned the podcast, and I just don't think he cares what he says, or he cares what anyone thinks about what he says.
Okay, well, I think you said something that a lot of people may be thinking, or I don't know if the organization could be potentially thinking this as well. Does Micah even want to be in Dallas? Yeah, that is the biggest question mark, because I also don't think he does. I just feel like he says a lot of things since he has been there. I don't know if you guys can recall when Dan Quinn, actually before Dan Quinn left, he kind of, reporters and stuff, we all knew that Dan Quinn was getting ready to leave to try to become a head coach. Remember when Micah said, I love Dan Quinn. He was praising Dan Quinn, and then all of a sudden he says, hey, if he wants to bring me with him, I'm cool with that too. So to me, I don't think he really wants to be in Dallas. Jay, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I do. I think that could be sort of the subplot of this whole story, because when you're saying sort of the reckless type of things that he said in the past, and then what he recently said about McCarthy, maybe he is trying to get himself out of there. Obviously the organization's a mess. It's probably a circus. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's a Harrisburg, Pennsylvania kid. He went to Penn State. Maybe being out in Texas just isn't where he wants to be. So somewhere like Philly or Washington, or just somewhere along that northeast line might be somewhere where he's trying to get to, Britt. So I do think that maybe that could be the subplot, that Parsons wants out. And maybe this is just sort of the catalyst to maybe start that whole thing in motion. So that's going to be interesting to keep an eye on over the next several months.
Well, due to his post-game press conference, or his comments during the post-game press conference, there was a few people that didn't quite like it, and they spoke up loudly, I guess you can say. So I'm going to play another video of Rex Ryan.
You're exactly right. And look, coaches are there at some days 20 hours a day.
Yeah.
For 2 or 3 days at least during the week. The hours they put in it's unmatched. Mike McCarthy, he doesn't deserve this damn comment. He doesn't. No coach does. Look, there's some horrible coaches out there, but none of them deserve this. The kind of work that they put in as coaches, I'm just telling you, I don't know, most players know that these dudes, you can forget about it. You're giving up family time. You're giving up all kinds of stuff in your life, and you're going to get some ass sitting back. I don't care how talented he is. That is absolutely BS. And if you would work half as freaking hard as a damn coach does, maybe you'd be able to play every damn game. Maybe your team wouldn't just be a bunch of punks and lay it down every damn week like you're doing. How about being a damn football team? You're going to sell your damn coach out? It's a crock of you know what.
Yeah.
My bad. That's my bad. I love Rex.
Yeah,
Rex trying to get a job back real quick.
Right. I think Rex Ryan was a little bit hot after what Mike and Parsons had said, regarding, Mike McCarthy. What are your thoughts on what Rex Ryan said? Is he right about, coaches working just as hard, if not harder, and working very long hours? Jay, I'm gonna come to you first.
Look, he's right about the hours. He's right about coaches working extremely hard, sleeping at the office. Coaching hours are just absolutely ridiculous. I don't think there's any question about that. And I think we all agree that what Parsons said was stupid. I mean, let's just call it what it was. It was stupid. But no one is above criticism, right? And when you're a coach, it comes with the territory. The NFL is a bottom line business, and you have to win. And when you don't, you're going to get criticized. So I understand Rex sticking up for coaches. That's the stance he has to take. But and I agree with probably 85% of what he said, but no one is above criticism. If you're not performing well, you're going to get criticized. I think the thing is, you just don't expect it to come from in-house, right? You expect it from the media. You expect it from the fans. You don't expect it from one of your own guys. So from that standpoint, I understand what Rex is saying.
K-Walk, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with everything Jay said, and mostly of like what Rex Ryan said. I get what Rex Ryan is saying, and he's a coach, so he's been there, done that. But Rex Ryan's got to know that this is a new day and age. But I don't really think it flies in any era. I don't think you going after the coach, the head coach. I don't think that flies in the 60s, 50s, or 60s, 70s, so forth and so on. And he's an old school coach. We all know that. He tells it like it is. About the Jets, he's always adamant about how they're running things over there, and how they're throwing, how they threw Robert Saleh under the bus there, and now you got Michael Parsons throwing Mike McCarthy there. So he's always going to be on the side of the coach, and rightfully so. because that's what he is and that's what he does. And he's absolutely right. Sometimes, not sometimes, but a lot of times, Jay can attest to this. You'll leave your football office at, late that night, and you'll be like, you'll be the last one to leave the office. Coach will be there. You'll be the first one to come back the next day. And the coach will still be there. Like, coach, did you go home? And some of them will say no because they really didn't go home. And some of them will be like, no, I just got back. I left for a couple hours, get some sleep, and then I came back or what have you. But they put so much they put so much work into making sure this is right, because they got to account for 53 players. They got to account for the coaches who coach them. And it's so much that goes on. And that particular player only has to worry about his play for the most part. Keeping yourself healthy, making sure you're in the weight room, making sure you're in the training room if you're hurt, making sure you're in your playbook. So you make sure you're in the coach's room in individual meetings, watching film, things of that nature. So, you have to worry about yourself for the most part, but a coach has to worry about so much. So I agree not 100% with Rex, because I get where he's coming from. At the same time, he's got to understand that you can't say that to some players. You could only say that to, you can say that to the coaches, and maybe you could put it in the meeting. You don't just call anyone out. But I get where Rex Ryan's coming from. For the most part, I agree with him.
Yeah, I agree with him as well. I just think there's a respect level, regardless of how you feel. First of all, just keep that in house. If the reporter asks you that question, about Rex Ryan, Mike McCarthy and him staying, just say, I have a lot of respect for Mike McCarthy. I'm not, this is above my pay grade, but I, whatever he may be, just make it public relations. Every player has a course in media and how to speak to the media and how to beat around the bush. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of players on every single team that don't like their head coach, that don't like their offensive coordinator, that may not like another teammate. But keep that in-house. That doesn't need to get out. I do think the biggest thing here, though, I think there's a culture issue. There's a culture issue, and it needs to be addressed. Now, how is that going to be addressed? Again, that kind of leans back onto Jerry Jones, because he likes the circus. Yeah. He understands that this circus brings attention, which then brings him dollars. He's big on that money sign, and that's why I always say it. And we all know it. That's why they're the biggest value franchise in any sport across the world. So, but it's something that has to be fixed. But guys, that didn't end it. That wasn't Rex Ryan saying his remarks, and that was the end of it. Micah had to respond. And this time he responded
on his podcast. Yeah.
On his podcast, yes, he did. To try to clear up his previous comments.
We all have to see through the BS of what these TV analysts are trying to do, and provide us and basically take words. I never once threw or even intended to throw Mike McCarthy under the bus. Like I said, he's one of the most winningest coach. He is a Super Bowl champ. I never once brung up his past. And the question that was asked was about here in the Dallas Cowboys, did I see Mike McCarthy in our future? And I said, that's above my pay grade. So never once did I ever intended or wanted to reflect on Mike McCarthy's career, because I always knew it was a good one. I've always had a great relationship with Mike McCarthy, and I never even put that in question. And for a guy like Rex Ryan, I just know he wanted to coach the Cowboys. Like, I'm perfectly happy that we have Zimmerman, because if we have a guy that's willing to go on TV and provide this type of nonsense, imagine what he could do to a locker room. Like, that's just honestly just outrageous to me at the end of the day. Like I said, man, when you play football, all coaching aside, and you can look at college, you can look at even the pros, coaches are, their careers are way longer. They can decide to take a better job. They can move on. You kind of see that a lot from DCs, OCs, head coaching positions. Sometimes better job openings just open up. And you truly never know. You never know how the dice is going to roll with coaches. But when you talk about guys you consistently going to war with, man, like, guys that I seen Tyron and Zach barely can walk throughout the week, take a Toradol, go out there and play, being half a man basically and giving us our best effort. So when you see those type of things, you see guys pushing through injuries, pushing through just so much difficulty it is to play in this league. Yes, 100%. Every time I'm going to always choose the brother that we're going to bleed with, we're going to work with, because in the end, you know, it's only it's a small group of us, you know. There is no politics out there on that football field. I understand what he meant to the Dallas Cowboys organization because I'm only worried about what happens at the Dallas organization, man. And you know, it truly bothers me how much negativity that we choose to put out there. Because not once did I wanted this quote to be a negative moment. I only want it to be a positive light and shine light on guys like Zach Martin, who may or may not be a Cowboy next year, but is going to be a Ring of Honor guy, a Hall of Fame guy, and that just know that he just added so much value to the Cowboys that will be missed.
All right, guys. First I will say this before I pick one of you guys to start first. Your defensive coordinator's last name is Zimmer, not Zimmerman.
Hell no.
That's some guy in Florida that we don't want to talk about anymore. His name is Mike Zimmer. So let me clear that up very quick for you, Micah. But K-Walk, I'm going to come to you first. What were your thoughts on what Micah Parsons' response was to Rex Ryan in the media?
Yeah, he was a little all over the place there. Yeah, so what? The Rex wanted to be a head coach there. He's calling you out, and that's the type of guy you don't want to be coaching for you because he will call you out because he is old school, and there's nothing wrong with that. But yet, there's everything wrong with what you said about Mike McCarthy. And that's, you know, you said, oh, he can go wherever he wants. At first, I just thought he meant like, you know, he had that option to go wherever he want. And I was going to be, okay, that's not too bad. But then he followed it up where, you know, he never accomplished or anything. And I'm paraphrasing here, so I don't want to misquote the brother by any stretch of the imagination. But what he was alluding to is that Mike McCarthy didn't work for anything. He didn't accomplish anything. That's where I got out of that second part of the beginning of the comment, which we all know Mike McCarthy is a Super Bowl winning head coach. And you guys can't even win a playoff game, let alone a Super Bowl. So don't disrespect that, man, and don't disrespect Rex Ryan because Rex Ryan was a quality coach, you know, in his day, and he, you know, the way he sounds, he's still, yeah, you got that itch. So if you got that itch, you know, he may be able to go out there and provide some type of you know, you know, success to your organization. But we know that's not the way that this league is going. We know that it's going to be those head coaches that we talked about is, you know, closer to, you know, these young head coaches that, you know, that can relate a little bit more. But Michael Parsons has to understand, like, listen, we get it. You play as a brotherhood, but that head coach is a part of that brotherhood, man, because he can lose his job just as quick as you can lose your job, and you can be out of there. Your coach could be traded. Coach could be fired. Mm-hmm. You can't be fired. You could be traded, but you can't be fired. So I don't want to hear that about, you know, for Michael Parsons, to be perfectly honest with you, man. He's got to understand, you know, the bigger picture. And I don't think he's understanding that, man. And I don't think he really wants to be there because all he keeps talking about is Zach Martin being in the Ring of Honor, man. That's down the road. This dude is still playing. Zach's not thinking about that. Why are you thinking about it? I'm pretty sure, man, I can't say what Zach is thinking about, but I'm pretty sure Zach, I'm a betting man. So I'll bet that Zach wasn't thinking about that before you brought that up. So Micah, get it right, man. Understand what's going on. Understand what the bigger picture is right now, brother. Understand what y'all going through. Just like Brett alluded to it, y'all America's team, man. Y'all making all of this money. Y'all in the spotlight each and every week, and you're not understanding the big picture here. You're not understanding what has to be done in order for y'all to succeed, in order for us to not talk about nonsense like this, brother. Understand that first and foremost, man. Get it right, and then you can come at Rex Ryan or anyone else who talks negative about you.
I think that my biggest point my biggest thing that I drew from what he said was towards the end of that conversation. He said that he was trying to not say anything negative, but put more of a positive light out there. For who? Because the way you responded about Mike McCarthy, I don't know how positive that was. And look, I'm not trying to get on him, but so much. But when you say basically, I don't care if he leaves, he'd go wherever he wants to go. I mean, I don't know how positive that is. I understand, again, that you're trying to give Zach Martin all the praise in the world, but I think Mike McCarthy deserves just as much praise, or if not, he deserves his players to have his back. Because he's, like K-Walk say, he's fighting in this battle with you. He's fighting in this battle with you. Mike McCarthy is on your side. He's not against you, anything like that. And from what I could see on the field, I said it earlier, it's not a Mike McCarthy issue. This is a player's issue. You know, when I see players, Trayvon Diggs giving up on a play, when I see players crying too much because something didn't go their way, or the last game, when I see a quarterback or the games prior to that, even with Dak Prescott, not reading a play properly, or the throw is looking crazy, or your line is not protecting. No disrespect to Zach Martin, because Zach Martin is a future Hall of Famer, but he hasn't been playing well lately. Nobody on the field has been playing well lately. So I just want him to look at Mike McCarthy. Let's give Mike McCarthy a little bit more respect. But Jay, what were your thoughts on what he said in response to Rex Ryan?
Yeah, two things really jumped out at me, Britt. What you said, right, when he said that he wanted his comments to be a positive light, right? So if he didn't understand that what he said was going to create this, then you have to ask yourself, okay, like why aren't you able to understand that in today's world, when you make a comment like that and you're thinking that it's going to be a positive light, and everybody else in the world knows that that's going to be a divisive comment, number one.
Right.
So why can't you figure that out? That's the first thing. And then the other thing he pointed out, we couldn't have a coach like Rex Ryan because he creates this kind of nonsense, but is unable to understand that he is creating nonsense with the comments that he made. Like, those were the two things that stuck out at me. You're going to say Rex is creating nonsense, but you're in that locker room. You're the ringleader of the circus, right? So that's the thing. He would have been much better off just to come on and apologize and just say,
Right.
I understand. I didn't mean it that way, but I understand what I said. No disrespect, just make an apology and move on. But to sit there and to try to defend yourself when you're really in an indefensible position, I hate to keep saying the word stupid, but it just makes you look stupid when you just can't realize what's happening and just get out ahead of it and apologize.
And I know that's hard for Jay to talk about his
telling you,
his whole Nittany Lion over here. But I think all in all, Michael Parsons, he has to understand that growth has to come. Like, maturity is the real thing. And I just don't know I don't know if has that mature mindset just yet. It's a world around Michael Parsons, and to me, this is part of being entitled as a player. You think everything evolves around you.
Yeah.
In reality, it doesn't. Like K-Walk said, it's a bigger picture than just you. And are you going to be a part of that bigger picture and do what you need necessary for your team and the organization to win? Basically, I'm not going to say growth when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys, because they got all the money in the world. But the biggest thing for them is to win. And if you win individually, you guys win. So if the team wins, then individually, you guys will see way more success than you do now. So, but
where's his PR people at? Does he have any PR?
I don't think he has PR people.
Needs to get somebody soon.
Yeah, seriously.
I'm gonna be honest with you guys. When you said that, K-Walk, with the PR, I don't think a lot of players have PR people anymore. That used to be a big thing where they had a publicist on the side. They will call like, "Hey, the reporters is right here in my face," and they will actually tell the players what to say. They don't have that anymore. I don't think, because, like you guys said, they have their own platform. This YouTube allows them to have
social media people,
social media, right? So they just say whatever they want to say, and it's not always the best thing to say at that particular time. We're not quite done with the Cowboys. I wish we were. I'll be honest with you, can't stand them, but we got one more thing to talk about when it comes to them. And being that they are 3-6, they have a 3-6 record, and it looks like their season is basically over. I think right now, if the NFL draft were to come right now, they would be a top 5 pick, I do believe. I think the Giants are number 1. And I don't know who will be number 2. I know the Jets are up there, Cowboys up there. I think the Panthers may be up there as well. I don't know if the Panthers have 3 or 4 wins, which is crazy. They actually might have 4. I know they won their last 2. So I believe the Cowboys may have a top 5 pick, for sure a top 10 pick. But there's a lot of question marks. There's a lot of questions about Mike McCarthy and him returning this year. There's a lot of questions about Dak Prescott and the rest of the team, and if they're going to do what they need to do this coming off season. So there was one person, I'll say his name, Stephen A. Smith. He made a suggestion, and I want to get your thoughts on his suggestion.
going to make people very, very uncomfortable here. Prime time has shown we know the brother can recruit. We know what he is. You talk about the greatest cornerback in the history of the National Football League, okay? This brother, Prime Time Deion Sanders, and the job that he's doing. Are you ready for where I'm going,
All right, let's go.
Are you ready for where I'm going, Shannon? Ready for where I'm going, Paul?
Where you gonna put him at? Where you putting him at?
I believe that the Dallas Cowboys should tank the rest of the season, get the number 1 overall pick, so you can draft Shedeur Sanders, and by the way, hire primetime Deion Sanders as your head coach for the Dallas Cowboys. I think that should be Jerry Jones's master plan. That's right, I said it. Hire primetime Deion Sanders. You got to tank the season to make sure you can get his son as your quarterback, okay? And you move forward that way. That is what I believe the Dallas Cowboys should do, because as much as I appreciate the job and appreciate the University of Colorado and the citizens of Boulder, Colorado, giving primetime Deion Sanders this opportunity, the bottom line is when you think about primetime, we shouldn't be thinking about Boulder, Colorado. We should be thinking about someplace else. And I think Big D, Dallas.
But then you're
The Big D in Dallas, that is. So he said, higher prime time. Coach Deion Sanders should go to go to Dallas and be the head coach. It will be an interesting timing. But I feel like they're forgetting some information here. But I have you guys speak on it first before me. Jay, what are your thoughts on them hiring? Well, we'll start with Deion Sanders first. Coach Deion Sanders.
I don't like it, Britt. I gotta be honest. And the reason I don't like it is because of what Deion has said. He has said on numerous occasions that he does not want to be a professional football coach, that he views himself as a college guy. He likes working with the college kids because he feels like he can make an impact and an impression on their lives. He's not interested in coaching grown men who have a ton of money, and he can't really kind of do his thing in terms of molding and shaping and that sort of thing. So if I'm just taking Deion for his word, I don't think it's a good fit. And you know, a lot of times I look at coaches and I say, that's an NFL guy, that's a college guy. And there are some guys that, you know, might fit both. But when I look at Deion and just sort of the way that he runs a program and the sort of the way that he conducts himself, to me, he's more of a college coach. So I don't love the idea. I mean, I get why people say it. He's done an outstanding job at Colorado this year in particular, but I don't see him as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
You said it right. You hit it right on the nose, Jay. He came out and said he does not want to coach in the NFL. He does not want to coach professional athletes.
Yeah.
First of all, they make way more money. And second of all, attitude. Attitude is his biggest things. And he's already saying now how he's having situations where, you know, some of the athletes that he coached are making more money than his staff. So trying to manage that now is difficult enough. So, but not only that, Jay, you also said it. He's a college coach because he likes to teach. He's a motivator. You know, when we see these young football players crying or a little frustrated, he goes over there, he talks to him. Not saying he can't do that with professional athlete, but he likes to do it from a mentor type of relationship where he really sits, he motivates them, and he really likes to teach them and help young boys, I could say, become men. He likes to help them in that growth, that growing process. But K-Walk, what are your thoughts on Coach Prime being hired in Dallas?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you guys to an extent. I mean, I think he could still do the same job. I know he's come out and said that, what he said about him not being a professional coach, but let's just say he were to change his mind and he decides he wants to go, and there's a great possibility, an opportunity to coach his son in the NFL. Would he turn that down? I don't know. It'd be tough to do that, but he'll probably, if he's a man of his word, which he says he is, he'll stay in college and not go to the NFL. But I think he can still do that molding and coaching and motivating and teaching, if you will. of the guys in the NFL because they're still younger than him. I mean, obviously, there's going to be guys that make more money than him, but what coach doesn't? What coach is out there making more money than their star player? I mean, I just don't know who you can come up with if there's one guy out there. So you're always going to run into that as a head coach. So if you and as far as him being, making more, these guys making more money than the staff, then that's what the NIL is about. I don't think you're complaining about your sons making more money than the staff. I think you're probably talking about maybe a Travis Hunter and guys like that, but that's the nature of the beast now. That's the nature of the beast. But shutting it down for Shador, would you do that? I don't know if you should do that because you owe Dak a lot of money, and I don't know anyone who's going to, take on that contract or some of that contract or half of that contract with Dak coming off of that, that severe hamstring injury. So how are you going to get rid of Dak? And I don't want to say get rid of. That's a harsh word to use. How are you going to, remove yourself from that contract? Because that's what you're looking to do if you're going to shut it down for Shador, as I call it, and then have him be your future quarterback. I don't think overall, I don't think Deion does it. I think Deion stays there. I think Deion ultimately winds up in Florida State, to be honest with you. I really think that's where he's going to wind up. I know he's butting heads with the AD there, but I think he can get that ironed out or have him removed or whatever the case may be. But I don't see him being in. I mean, it's a great idea, Stephen A. It really is. On paper, it looks wonderful because you're going to have these guys. Will Jerry bring that guy in? Will Jerry bring Deion in to be a bigger name, a bigger personality, if you will, in Dallas? Because we all know how Deion's going to be perfectly honest with you. So, I don't see it happening. I do see them getting Shador though, making some moves and getting Shador. But I don't think they'll bring in Deion. I don't think Deion wants that smoke, if you will. I don't think he wants that headache dealing with that.
I think well, I mean, you brought up the Shador, so you jumped the gun a little bit, but it's okay.
My bad.
With the Shador Sanders conversation.
Well, you guys always beat me to the punch. So I got somehow. I guess you can get in there.
But I think that contract is big when it comes to Dak Prescott. I think you got to be mindful. I think their dead cap next year is like over $50 million alone, and that's just next year. I don't know what the following years are, and what does that say about the Dallas Cowboys? You praise Dak Prescott, you say how great he is when you give somebody, or when you make somebody the highest paid player in the history of the NFL, not just at the quarterback position, but any position. And usually the quarterbacks are the highest paid player in the history of the NFL. You're saying that you trust them. It's a lot of positive things that you're saying about them. Now, if you go and draft Shador in the top 5 pick in the first round, now what are you saying with Dak Prescott? Are you admitting, because Jerry Jones don't like to admit his mistakes at a lot of times. Are you openly admitting that we made a mistake? We should not have paid him $60 million. We jumped the gun, because that's basically what you're saying. So I don't think they will draft Shador. I mean, look, Jerry will surprise most of them for the most part. We just don't know what he could potentially do. But maybe there's a second round draft pick, a quarterback that they go get, or maybe a third or fourth round draft pick that they could go get, who's a quarterback. Now, Travis Hunter, on the other hand, that's a different situation. You need him. You need another corner, or you need another receiver, however which way you want him to play, or maybe you want him to play both ways. But going back real quick to the Deion Sanders thing, another reason why I don't think Deion Sanders will want to go there or is a good fit there, and K-Walk, you kind of alluded to it, is control. Is Jerry willing to give up control? Because I highly doubt Deion Sanders is going to go into Jerry's world and say, you know what, Jerry, I'm gonna do it how you want me to do it. Anything you want me to do, I'm gonna do it. No, Deion Sanders is going to want control over his football team. He's going to want the players that help his team win. And Jerry's ego is just too high right now to let up. But Jay, what are your thoughts on the Shador Sanders, and if you have any other comments pertaining to Deion Sanders?
Yeah, so real quick on Deion, I thought that point K-Walk was making was excellent. Like when he said, is Jerry willing to share the limelight? Because Deion cast a huge shadow, right? So if you hire Deion Sanders as your head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, that is all anyone is talking about. Jerry Jones immediately gets pushed to the side, and the only thing we're talking about is Deion Sanders. Can Jerry's ego handle that? I'm not sure he can. So that might be one reason why that's not even a possibility. And then as far as Shador, like I think Shador is going to be a really excellent player in the NFL. Like I think he's going to be better than a lot of people think. We're watching what this kid is doing behind an offensive line that is not great, and he's under a lot of duress, and he's still carving people up week in and week out. If you can put him behind a decent offensive line, I think he's going to have a really good career, and I think he has more upside than Dak Prescott. So from a football standpoint, if I could just choose, I take Shador. The problem is, as you guys mentioned, the contract. Like, how do you get out of that? What do you do with Dak? You just gave him all this money. So, I mean, if they could figure that out, I'd rather have Shador, but I just don't see that how it's going to be possible.
Yeah.
I think the other question would be, and we talked about him earlier during this whole Cowboys talk, was do you then pay Micah? Because they have to pay Micah Parsons. His contract is up. Either you're going to have to pay him or you're going to have to trade him. Do you pay him big money? He's going to command a lot of money. Or do you trade him and get a lot of draft capital to help really speed up this rebuild process? Because let's be for real, I think they're in a rebuild. I'm not going to say a start over or a tear down. Jay corrected me last week on that. I do agree it's more of a rebuild process. So you still have some nice quality star players, but Micah is still that big question mark on whether they're going to pay him or trade him. Which one is it going to be?
Britt, and honestly, like I know it sounds crazy, but I feel like I'm kind of on the I would be okay with Micah leaving, right? Because we know he's a great player, but is it really translating into wins on the field? Like so far, it's not. And I know he's been hurt this year, but even last year, like is he really making a big impact in terms of the wins and loss column? So if you could trade him and bring in 3 or 4 really nice pieces that makes your overall team better, that might not be a bad move. So I think that's something the Cowboys have to think about.
I mean, the last time they traded a big star player, it went well for them. So I think right after that, they won some Super Bowls. So I hope that doesn't happen again, but you never know. It could. All right, guys, before we move on, we got a couple comments here. Sandy, hey, guys.
Sandy and Sean, what's going on?
Appreciate you guys.
Mel from Man Down. What's going on, Mel from Man Down Sports?
What's up, Mel?
And then we have Big Reg 409. He said Prime said he will never coach in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
That is true. But K-Walk, you were right, because he also said he didn't want to leave Jackson State, and he left Jackson State. So we just never know what.
And I think what K-Walk said about like if he had the opportunity to coach his son, like would that be enough to pull him to the NFL? I think Prime would rather stay in college. But if somebody said, hey, let's get you and let's bring your son to get like that might be enough to get him to maybe change his mind.
Very attractive.
That's very attractive.
I just don't think it's going to be in Dallas. I don't think Prime is going to be able to handle that lack of control. Like he has no control there. So unless Jerry decides to let up, I don't see Jerry getting a good coach coming there anytime soon. Because we're also hearing about Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick for sure wants control. He has 6 rings.
Yeah,
he for sure wants control. So I don't know if he'll go there, but we'll see. All right, guys, we got to get to our next topic, and it's the breaking news of the day. I had to get the Dallas topic out of the way. Oh yeah, that's right. Dallas is this. Anyway, let's get to our breaking news of the NFL for today, and that's the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears fired their offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron, I believe it said. I pronounced that right? And promoted their offensive passing game coordinator, Thomas Brown, to become the new offensive coordinator. Guys, is Shane Waldron a scapegoat or is it something that needed to happen? K-Walk, I'm going to come to you first.
Both. I mean, both. I mean, if you look at it, because of the fact of the matter is, he's calling the plays. When you look at the Bears offense, there's no creativity, there's no innovation there. With this offense, and you got a really good offense. I mean, Caleb Williams, he's not going anywhere. They made all the moves that they did. They got, they traded away Justin Fields. He was their guy. They said that he was their guy. They compared him to so many different players before him, so many different quarterbacks, I should say, before him. And Jay and I were high on it and said there was something about we don't see what everybody else was seeing. With this young man, and nothing to take away from him, but there was just nothing jumping off of the tape, if you will, the video, whatever you want to call it today. That says, oh, this guy is going to be the next Patrick Mahomes or the next, Aaron Rodgers in his prime, things of that nature. And it's obviously, it panned out the way we thought it would. I mean, they got talent. They brought in DJ Moore. They got Kemet, the tight end, who I think is very good and underused. A lot of their players are underused. And then you bring in DeAndre Swift and these guys. So they have the talent around him. But just the play calling and that offensive line, we thought that the offensive line was one of the best offensive lines in the game, but for some reason or another, it's just not working out. It's just guys aren't getting open, guys aren't blocking for whatever reason, and Caleb Williams is just running for his life for the most part. So yeah, I think it's the right move. They had to start somewhere because right now I think it was a coin flip. Do we keep Caleb Williams as QB1? Let's hold off on that. That's that may be just jumping the gun a little bit, but let's make a move at the offensive coordinator position. See if that makes anything go, if that sparks anything, and if not, then you got to see if Caleb Williams is your guy. But hey, this is the Bears. This is what they do. This is what they do year in and year out. They have a year in, a couple years in, a couple years out. They bring in a quarterback, all the way back. They had Jay Cutler and, those guys, they haven't had a real quality quarterback, I mean, they had guys that put up numbers but never win. So I'm not surprised here at all. But yeah, to answer the question, I think that it's the right move, and he had to be the guy that goes. He had to be the scapegoat, to answer your question.
Yeah, I'm torn on this because when you watch the tape and you see how poorly Caleb Williams is playing, I'm sitting here like, is it the play call? Is it the designs of the plays? Or is it that he just can't read defense? Or is it maybe he thinks he's in college and he could hold the ball for about 10 to 20 seconds because he holds it a very long time. And I'm exaggerating the length of time he's holding it, guys. Or not, right? Because he looks and then he takes off. So I'm just like, you're focused on one player, and sometimes the offensive line, granted, is not a great offensive line, but sometimes they provide enough protection, for him to go through his progressions and make a decision. And then at times the throw is just off. The throw just looks bad. So I'm like, how much blame can an offensive coordinator take for bad play on the field? Because when you look, guys are open, but he has to understand NFL open is different than college open. NFL open, the window was a lot smaller than it is in college. And I just don't know if he's grasping that. Maybe with this move, it could, give the, spark a flame or, put some fire underneath him, for this at least a week or so. And maybe we'll see a difference. But I have issues when players start complaining, your teammates start complaining about you. So I'm a little split. Like, they needed a change. Was it the right change? I'm not so sure, because here's my other question to this. Shane Waldron is your offensive coordinator. Who's your quarterback's coach? Why is there no change maybe at the quarterback's coach? Because sometimes his technique and his progressions and the fundamentals that you need as a quarterback just doesn't look good. His accuracy sometimes is off. So why wasn't maybe he the one that should have been let go? That's an interesting question. But Jay, Shane Waldron a scapegoat, or is it something that needed to happen?
So, Britt, I think you make a fair point about, like, obviously there's been some growing pains at the quarterback position, no question about that. and Caleb Williams trying to play quarterback in the NFL the way that he played in college, and it's just not going to work. Like he thinks he can run around and spin and do all that. Like that doesn't work in the NFL, and the sooner he can figure that out, the better. But I think he probably deserved to be fired. Dan Orlovsky, who I think is one of the best in the business in terms of like breaking down film and showing what's happening and things like that. I've seen him on a couple occasions sort of dissect the Chicago Bears offense and just some of the things that they're not doing and some of the concepts that they're trying to run. And I feel like he's pretty fair. And I think he's been a little bit critical of just maybe the approach that they've been taking to playing offense. So I'm okay with them making a change, maybe bringing somebody else new in there that could maybe, like you said, light a fire or just change things up. Maybe it just wasn't a good fit. Like we always say, is somebody's got to take the blame, right? And if it's not going to be the head coach, the next in line is that OC and DC. Exactly. So this one just happened to fall on this guy's head. So I'm okay with the change.
Now, a lot of people have said that Shane Waldron is not as good of an offensive coordinator as we think. He's just not a good offensive coordinator at all. What are your thoughts on that? Because last year, I think the Seahawks got a little bit of praise, and I believe he was the offensive coordinator for them last year with the success that he had a little bit with Geno Smith, or maybe that was 2 years ago, but he was still the offensive coordinator. Do you guys have thoughts on him being a bad offensive coordinator? Anybody can take it.
I don't think he's a bad offensive coordinator. I think it was truly happening. I think they're giving the reins to Caleb Williams to be what he was in college and allow him to go out there and just kind of freelance, if you will. I don't think there's he's not understanding. If either he's doing it on his own or they're allowing it, because what's happening is that you're either coaching it or you're condoning it. Those are the two things that goes on with coaching. So you ask yourself, like, what he did, meaning Waldron, what he did in Seattle was effective. Those guys, made the playoffs. They had one of the top offenses in the league. Geno Smith was actually at the one point, one of the top quarterbacks in the league as far as passing yards and things of that nature. So you got to ask yourself, is Caleb Williams not, go back to your point, Britt, you made a great point there. Is he not reading the defense? Is he not being able to go through his progressions? Is he, if his first read is not there, is he just taking off? What is it about him? But I don't think you could put it all on Coach Waldron, to be perfectly honest with you. I think Caleb Williams is a quarterback that has the talent, has the arm strength, the mobility. Maybe from the head, from the neck up, he's not there. But from a physical standpoint, he has all the intangibles that you need, all the tools that you need. So I don't want to, I want to see, what he did in Seattle. He could have brought that to Chicago. I think he did, but I just think it has something to do with Caleb Williams just not being ready, not being willing, and I don't want to say not being able, but just not ready. And I don't think maybe a little bit of not being willing there. That's what I'm seeing from the outside, like DJ.
Yeah, and the other thing too, like I don't want to say he's a bad coordinator because I'm sure like in terms of game planning, like he probably puts together a plan that he thinks is good, and everybody runs some version of the same plays anyway. So it's not like he probably doesn't have a good offense. I'm wondering if maybe on game day, like the sequence of plays that like you could be a good coordinator, but maybe not a great play caller. And maybe he's just not a great play caller on Sunday, like some of the sequence of plays and things like that. And then I too, to K Walk's point, like I don't think we can leave the Caleb Williams part out of this, right? Because sometimes it's just players. Like every play you design is designed to be successful. But players have to go out there and make plays. And maybe in Seattle, you got some guys making plays, and right now in Chicago, that's not happening. So I think it's a combination of a lot of different things, but when it's not working out, that's the guy that's going to take the blame. So I understand why they made the move.
Last question pertaining to this, because it was reported that his teammates, so Caleb Williams' teammates, prior to the firing of Shane Waldron, the offensive coordinator, they actually went to the head coach and tried to convince him to bench quarterback Caleb Williams and start the backup quarterback. I think his name is Tyson Baggett or Bagnet. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. What are your thoughts on Caleb Williams' teammates saying, "Hey, we don't want him to start"? And he has veteran teammates all around him. And I don't know if you seen the clip not that long ago, but he actually DJ Moore during one play actually walked off the field in the middle of one play. And he has also expressed frustration after that. What are your thoughts on his teammates saying we don't want him to start anymore? Anybody can take it.
Yeah, Britt, like body language is a big indicator. And I've seen some really bad body language on that team. I have no proof of what I'm about to say. It's just me making an observation. I don't think they like Caleb Williams. I don't think the guys in the locker room, like personally, I don't think they like him as a person. And I think that again, that's just my opinion. But I think like when the guy that's supposed to be leading your football team, if you don't like him or if you don't have respect for him, you're just, and you don't feel like maybe he's in it in the same way that you are, like that's not a guy that you want to go to battle with. So I think the fact that they went to the coach and said, hey, let's sit this guy down. Let's see if the backup can help. Like I think that's very telling, but you can see it in the body language. I've seen some eye rolling, some hand waving. You mentioned people walking off the field. Like I've noticed all of that with the Bears, and I don't think they like him, Britt.
Any thoughts on this, K-Walk?
Yeah, I agree with Jay, man. I don't think there's just something there. I don't know if it's his personality or just they just don't think he gets it.
Yeah.
I just think it comes down to that, and I think that they know that who was it, Tyson Baggett? I think they know that he's probably in the film room. Maybe Caleb Williams is pulling a Kyler Murray type esque move. Remember he was not giving 100% to the game and 100% focus to the game plan, the things of that nature. And he probably just thought he could just go out there and just rely on his God-given ability. And I think that a lot of these players out here don't realize you have to work upon that, that God-given ability in order to be successful. And like you mentioned, Britt, you just can't go around there running there like you're in college, different speed. Those windows that may be open is, just as wide, but they close, a lot quicker, without question. So, yeah, I think that they know, they see. They know what they see, and they see it they see it in practice. They see it in the games. So at some point, listen, I'm not going out there, guys, waving guys in like you go in, tapping the helmet, whatever the case may be to call for substitutions. When you see that, and you see it by multiple guys, not just one guy, you see it by multiple guys in multiple positions, you got to point to the quarterback. But yeah, I definitely think that don't be afraid to let this guy sit. I mean, he's your number one pick, but don't be afraid to let him sit. Some quarterbacks do succeed after doing that.
I mean, look at Bryce Young. He seems to turn things around. It looks like Anthony Richardson. We'll see how he does because I don't know how much longer Flacco is going to be in there for. It looks like that whole Anthony Richardson sitting for the rest of the year may not necessarily be true. But it did wonders for Bryce Young. So maybe that's what he needs. Maybe he needs to just sit on the bench, really learn to really understand how to read, how to go through his progressions, read defenses. So that's something he could, who knows? We'll see if it happens though. They're probably considering it. So comment y'all, JN y'all, old coach Tom Moore told Mate and Panny going into his second season, you have 3 seconds to get rid of the football. Caleb needs to learn this. Absolutely.
Yep.
NFL is different. Right. NFL is different. And then he also said, dude comes into the locker room with his nails painted.
I ain't got no comment. No wrong with that, but I don't know that's the problem. But if it is, get that nail polish remover, if you will.
If you can ball, I don't care.
I don't care about that, but
if that's all you focused on and you're an athlete, we got other questions.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's move on. This is something I call "Do You Believe?" Right, and it's basically exactly what it says. Do you believe in this team or don't you believe in this team? First team. I only have a few teams here that we're going to go through. First team is Chargers. They are second in the AFC West. The record is 6-3, and they recently beat the Browns 27-17. Do you believe in the Chargers this season? K-Walks, looks like you ready to go. Give me your
Yeah,
thought.
I want to believe in this team so bad, Britt and ladies and gentlemen, because I'm a Jim Harbaugh guy. You know, he led my 49ers to a Super Bowl. So I want to believe in this guy. I want to believe in Herbert, but I just don't think they have the pieces that they need to get there right this year. This year, we're talking about, they got rid of Mike Williams, Kellen, not Kellen Moore, what is it? Allen. They
Keenan
got
Allen.
rid of Keenan Allen. They got rid of Austin Eckler. That's an offense right there. And in the Jim Harbaugh's offense, that would be some serious weapons because Jim Harbaugh likes to run the ball. Jim Harbaugh is not a guy out there who wants to chuck it and duck it. So
Right.
there would have been some weapons, for sure. But right now, no, I want to believe in these guys, but so bad. But no, I do not believe in them. Dang,
I will say they are impressing me. I do believe they are doing much better than I thought they would this year. But Jim Harbaugh is Jim, right? I get Jim and John all the time. Jim, he's doing his thing. I'm not gonna lie, he's showing us how good of a coach he is because I had no faith in this team once they let go of everything. I said,
everything, yeah.
Justin Herbert is starting to look like the guy that we thought the Chargers got coming out of college. He's looking way much more improved. He seemed to be staying healthy this year as well, which is very important. And to lose a guy like Austin Eckler, who I think they have really depended on, and you're still 6-3, to me, that's incredible. So I don't think they're going to get, but so far this year, I do think they may tap into that playoff. They may be getting into that last playoff standing or one of those wild card spots. But I do think they need one more year. I think if Jim Harbaugh goes into another full offseason, he's able to get the free agents that he would like to get, able to make the draft picks. I think next year, this is a team that we're going to have to watch out for because that defense is also much better than I thought they would be as well. But Jay, what are your thoughts?
So I think you guys pointed out this is going to be a well-coached football team. I don't think there's any question about that. But I'm going to say no, Britt. I don't believe because I think who you beat matters, right? And they beat the Raiders and the Panthers, but when they've played good teams, they lost to the Steelers, they lost to the Chiefs, they did beat the Broncos, but they lost to the Cardinals, they beat the Saints. They beat the Browns. I think the times that they've played good teams, they've lost. And the teams that aren't great, they found a way to win. We're going to find out in the next 4 weeks because they play the Bengals, the Ravens, the Falcons, and the Chiefs. So the next 4 weeks are going to tell a story. But right now, I don't believe. I think they've won some games against teams that aren't very good. And I think over the next 4 weeks, they're probably going to lose 3 out of the next 4. So no, I don't believe.
And let me make sure I made this clear. I don't believe. I'm just saying they're more impressive than what I thought they would.
Yeah. I agree with that. Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know if I answered my own daggone question. So no, I do not believe. Second team. You know what? I'm gonna save this team for last. Let's go to the next one. Minnesota Vikings. They are 77-2. They're second in the NFC North. They started off fire. It seems like things started to settle down a little bit for them, or teams have caught up. Do you believe in the Minnesota Vikings? Jay, I'm gonna come to you first.
I hate to say it, and I hope my man from Simply Ball Dropping is not watching. But no, I don't believe. And I believed 3 weeks ago, but now I don't believe, Britt. And I'm gonna tell you why. I think when it gets down to it, deep in the playoffs, you can't have your quarterback throwing 3 interceptions in a game. And I don't trust Sam Darnold. I'm sorry. I don't trust him. I don't think he can lead you to where you want to go. So because of that, as good as that defense is, as good as they're as well coached, all that. But when the money's on the line, can Sam Darnold deliver? My answer to that question is no. So I do not believe.
All I'm going to say is I told you guys this happened a couple years ago when the Vikings started 7-0 or they were 7-1, and then they fell flat. So that's all I'm going to say. K Walk, because I'm an Eagles fan, so Vikings fans come for me hard. So I got to keep it quick. K-Walk, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I want to believe. I want to say that I believe because I think with that Brian Flores led defense, and I don't think the Vikings need to see the Sam Darnold that they saw in the beginning of the season, where he's making all those big throws and throwing for those yards or those touchdowns. I just think he has to manage the game. Now, with that being said, I definitely think he can be a game manager. Now, is that defense good enough to keep them in the game in order for Sam Darnold to be an effective game manager? I don't know. Brian Flores, he likes to bring that house every single time, and sometimes you could pick that up, and it's just it's feast or famine with that offense. You either live by the sword or die by the sword. So with all that being said, I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no. I don't believe in it because I think the league has caught up with this version of Sam Darnold.
Yeah, I also don't believe neither. Look, it was a exciting run. They may get on the back end of the playoffs, the wild card, but I think they're first round out. Look, it looked good in the beginning, but like I said, beginning of the season, let's be real, you're just trying to hopefully get as many wins in the beginning of the season as possible, because towards the midpoint of the season and the back end of the season, you're going to know who the real contenders are, and I just don't think the Vikings are there yet. Last team, this is going to be your favorite, K-Walk. The Arizona Cardinals. They are 6-4, first in the NFC West. That toddler is still running around like crazy. Jay, I'm going to come to you first on this one. Do you believe in the Arizona Cardinals?
Oh, Britt, this is a good one. I feel the same way about the Cardinals as you kind of do about the Chargers. They have exceeded my expectations coming into the season. They're better than I thought they would be, but I can't stamp them with an I believe. I just can't do it, Britt. I'm going to say no. I just don't think they have enough. I don't think they have enough. I'm going to say no. I don't believe they've benefited from the 49ers injury issues and all kinds of things that have happened in that division. They've been the beneficiary of that. I think over the second half of the season, everything's going to kind of play itself back out. So I don't believe.
Do you believe in miracles? No, I don't. No, I do believe in miracles, but I don't believe in the Arizona Cardinals neither. Look, it's exciting. I said it earlier. It looks fun. I think eventually all that running around is going to hurt the Arizona Cardinals. Look, it has in the past, and I just don't think you can continuously win football games that way. I know they have exciting young wide receiver in Marvin Harrison Jr., and I loved him. He played for my favorite college team, and that's Ohio State. But I just don't think they have enough. I know Jonathan Gannon has been playing well on both sides of the football. I have to give kudos to Jonathan Gannon. But no. K-Walk, this is technically your rival. What are your thoughts? Do you believe
one of them
in the Arizona Cardinals?
No, I don't, Britt. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a hater. Everybody gonna say, "Well, he's a hater." He's no. I've watched these guys play up, each and every week. The week that we lost to him, where he just stepped back and just threw the ball up, and I forget who caught it, and they wound up winning that. That was just they're still doing the same thing. But like you mentioned, Britt, I think eventually teams will understand how to keep that guy in the pocket, or keep the toddler in his playpen, if you will, and not let him run around, not run around the house, with the stolen iPhone or whatever the case may be. But that's what he looks like, you guys. He looked like he stole his parents' phone and just running around trying to kind of get away from him. But anyway, I think that you can control that. He's the head of the snake, if you will, for this team. And if you can cut the head off the snake, and I wholeheartedly believe that you can contain this guy, because he can make some throws, but generally when he's making those throws, it's because he's scrambling for 5, 6, 7 seconds or wwhatever, and guys are getting open. And I don't care who you are; it's hard. I don't care what defense you are; it's hard to guard guard any offense. For 5+ seconds or 6+ seconds, however long the average is there. But no, I don't believe in it, because I think the league will catch up to them, without question. I think if you play these guys man to man, and you have a spy on them, or you just have these guys just contain them on the outside, just keep them in that, I call it the playpen, but keep them in the pocket, And I think you could beat him. I think you could beat him. So I don't believe.
Playpen. That's cool.
And I think that what people have to realize is, yes, when he throws the ball up, yes, his receivers are grabbing it now, but those a lot of times are 50-50 balls. And just as much as the receiver can get that ball, he also throws it to where the corner, if he's going against some good corners, odds are you're going to see more interceptions coming very, very soon. But I got to give him credit where credit is due as of right now.
He's doing it.
They are 6-4 and they're first in the NFC West. I just don't know how long that's going to last for, but we'll see what happens. JM, y'all said take the ball out of Herbert's hands. He's taken a lot of hits in his short career. Also, during the fourth quarter of close games, Herbert seems to be rattled a little bit.
Yeah, but I don't think he's doing that with this Jim Harbaugh-led defense. I mean, offense, excuse me, because I think Jim Harbaugh offense, the run game opens up the pass game, and Herbert doesn't have to worry about taking all of those hits with this offense, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, I agree. Any thoughts on that, Jay?
I'll be honest. I haven't watched enough of them to really have an informed opinion about it. So I don't. I'll trust K-Walk on this one. I have watched enough of Harbaugh's offense in
San
Francisco, at Michigan, same
Michigan,
offense. So yeah, it's definitely heavy on the run, a lot of play action, things like that. So yeah, I'll trust K-Walk's expertise on this one.
Okay, well, my bad. I was listening. I was just reading comments at the same time.
No, you're good.
Damn, y'all said no. I'm assuming that's the Vikings. That was our second one. I'm assuming that was the Vikings. All right, guys, let's move on because I'm running out of time here, like always.
Take your time.
Real quick, guys. Don't need this to be long whatsoever. Just your week 10. If you want to give me winners or losers, whichever one you want to go with, just name one or the other. If you want to do both real fast, that's fine. So this is our week 10 winners or losers. K-Walk, I'm gonna start with you first.
Winners. Let me see here. I'll take I'm gonna take the Lions here. I like the way they came back here. I like the way they fought back, against that Texans team. Texas team was playing outstanding defense. Jared Goff had trouble with that zone defense for the most part, but he overcame that. The kicker Bates, ultimately, made the game-winning kick. So I'll give it the winners there because a lot of people were ready to write the Lions off if they had lost that game, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm gonna go the other way with the losers, I guess. And that's one of them is the Texans. You cannot be up. What they were up 23-7.
I think it was 23-7. Yeah, I think it was 23-7.
And then you didn't score another point for the rest of the game. I think it was 23-6. You don't score not 1 point for the rest of the game. You're supposed to be one of the top teams in the NFL, and that did not look like it whatsoever. And I'm a huge D'Amico Ryans fans, but he got to do something because that just didn't look good. My other loser, the New York Jets.
Oh, we get two.
What the hell are you doing? What are you doing, New York Jets? You look pitiful. And I love the clap back by Mike Williams after the Steelers beat the Commanders, and he said, "Oh, I guess I ran down the red line this time" when he caught that game-winning touchdown, clapping back at Aaron Rodgers, because Aaron Rodgers, you look like you need to retire. Yeah, it's looking bad. You're wasting, you just wasted Devontae Adams' year. He came there to help you, and you look horrible. The team looks bad. You got your head coach fired, and it's like, for what? For what? For what? There's no excuses with this team. We kept saying they're only a quarterback away, and it looks pretty bad. Winners, I guess I'm gonna also go with the Lions as well. I'm gonna go with the Steelers also because that was a good win to pull out. But Jay, winners, losers, both.
Yeah, Britt, I have the Steelers as a winner because that was number one. That was a very entertaining game against the Commanders, and for them to be able to pull that out, I thought that was a huge win for Pittsburgh. So I have them as a winner. I gotta go with the Kansas City Chiefs. I know K-Walk's gonna hate to hear that, but the Chiefs finding a way to win again. Late, it looks like they're going to lose, and then they come up with the big block field goal. I got to say the Chiefs are winners, remain undefeated. They're figuring a way to win every single week. My loser, Britt, is I'm going to stay right here at home, the Atlanta Falcons. You're playing a Saints team that has really just been holding on by a thread, and you let the Saints beat you in a division game that you really needed to win that game. Falcons have played well, but that's one that you can't give up. So I thought the Falcons were big losers this weekend.
Yeah, I should have put them on Do You Believe segment, but I didn't. I forgot.
That would have been a good one.
I
You
forgot.
see that Chiefs field goal block, K-Walk?
Yeah, I heard you saying that, Jay. So I still, even though I wasn't in the camera, I was still listening. So yeah, that's rough, man. That's rough.
All right, guys. Did you see Did you see the meme of them blocking the field goal, but you had the ref standing right next to him blocking?
Help blocking. Y'all know how I feel about the Kansas City Chiefs.
Sounds about right. All right, guys. Let's get into some predictions for this coming week. This is week 11. We're more than halfway through the season. I think it's about 7 games left, I believe. Could be 8. No, I think it's 7. No, whatever. The extra week of games throw me off every year.
Yeah.
So let's start with, I guess we'll start with our Thursday night game. My goodness, I'm hearing stuff, chitter chatter from these fans already. And that's the Commanders at the Philadelphia Eagles. I wish these Commanders would shut up because y'all was irrelevant for the last, I don't know how many years. And then all of a sudden I got to hear from y'all. But anyway, what's your predictions on the Commanders at the Eagles? Jay, I'm going to come to you first.
Man, this is going to be great. I told you guys I'm taking off Friday just so I can stay up and enjoy this one on Thursday night.
Wow.
This is going to be a great game. But here's I feel like, and maybe over the last couple weeks, I feel like people are starting to catch up with some of the things the Commanders are doing offensively. The more film you're getting on Jaden Daniels, the more these defensive coordinators are figuring out what he's really good at and maybe some things that he's not so great at. And I think the Eagles are starting to come on. I really do. So this game is in Philly, correct?
Yes.
So I actually like the Eagles in this game, Britt. I just think Saquon Barkley and those receivers and the talent that they have on defense, even though they don't always live up to it, the talent is certainly there, especially in that front seven. So I don't know. I think I'm probably going to be rooting for the Commanders, but I think the Eagles are going to win the football game. So I like the Eagles 24-20.
When did you become an Eagles hater, Jay?
I'm not really an Eagles hater, but there's just something about that Commanders team that I like. I like Jaden Daniels, Britt.
Golly. Look, I like Jaden Daniels too. I really don't have any issues with the Commanders. I know they're a division rival, but I think K-Walk said it earlier about the Arizona Cardinals. This is like, that's kind of how I feel about the the Commanders. We're talking about the Cowboys. That's a whole nother conversation that we have to get into. But no, they have Jaden Daniels was playing very, very well. They have a lot of talent. They have Zach Ertz and Scary Terry McLaurin. Defensively, they're playing well. Bobby Wagner looks like he went to a time machine at times, which is throwing me off. I don't know if Marshawn Lattimore is going to be playing this weekend. I know he has a hamstring injury. But I'm gonna have to go with the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't know if I would have gone against them regardless. Unless they were that terrible. But I just think, Jay, like you said, they're coming on. They seem things are starting to click. It took a little bit, and that's expected with the new offensive coordinator and a new defensive coordinator. But Vic Fangio, and I think it was a former 49ers linebacker. I can't think of his name right now.
LeVar Bowman?
Yes, LeVar Bowman. And he said how great of a coach he is. He said, I had my best years under Vic Fangio, and he is an excellent head coach. I'm an excellent defensive coordinator. All you have to do is listen to him and believe in what he's doing. And you can see that's what they're doing. So the Commanders are not going to be easy. Jaden Daniels, you have to keep him in the pocket as much as possible. So and the Eagles have to start faster and watch the penalties. That is what it is. So as long as they do that, I think the Eagles will be okay. I think this might be a close one. I'm going to say 28-24 Eagles. Okay. And the Commanders are not that great in run defense. So Saquon, I hope you're good and ready to go. But K-Walk, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I just got to know if B. Rob Jr. is playing in this game. If he does play, if he's going to be healthy, because that's a big difference there. That guy is he's a difference maker. So Yeah, if he's ready to go, everything you guys mentioned about the offense, the defense, the coordinators, I wholeheartedly agree. But I think the X factor in this game is B Rob, and I call him B Rob. I call him B Rob Jr. I mean, that's his name. But um, Brian Robinson Jr., he's missed the last 2 games with that knee injury, and right
Mhm.
now he's questionable. So I don't know if he's ready to go, if he goes. So if he goes and he's 100%, I'm taking the Commanders. If he's not able to go, or if he's not 100%, I'm taking the Eagles. I think he's the X factor, and that's the only deciding factor I have in this. I think these two teams are very similar on paper. The quarterbacks are pretty much the same. The receiver. I mean, I know you got AJ Brown, you got Devontae Smith. But you call him Terry Scary, and I mean Scary Terry. That's my guy. I love McLaurin there. Yeah, B Rob. If he's able to go, I'm taking the Commanders. If not, then I'm taking the Eagles.
Okay, well, let me ask you, because a week ago you crowned the Commanders as division champs.
I
Do you
did.
still
With a
feel
healthy
that
B
way?
Rob. It
You
was a
still
healthy
feel
B
that way?
Rob. That's why I'm
Okay.
taking the game. That's why I
Okay.
said if he's healthy, I'm taking the
Okay.
Commanders. Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, that's another conversation for another day. But let's move on because I don't have that much time. Raiders at the Steelers. Woo! Now this is going to be a good one. This is a true division. I'm sorry, I said Raiders. Ravens at the
Oh,
Steelers.
I was like, what, Brett?
This is
Wasting
going
time
to
with the
be a
Raiders.
great one. This is a true dog eat dog type of division rival. I'm excited for this one. Both teams are excellent. The Steelers are actually number 1 in the division right now at this moment. This could be a deciding game. What is your prediction? Ravens at Steelers. K-Walk?
I'm going to take the Ravens. I think Lamar Jackson right now is playing at an extremely, extremely high level. I don't want to tip my hand anything like that from our individual awards, but I may have. But I just like the way this team is playing right now. If hopefully Derrick Henry can keep his pants up, and if he can do that, I don't know if you guys saw that or not, but you saw that. But I love this running game with those guys. Even Hill. I love the way Zay Flowers, a young receiver out of Boston College, is playing right now. Of course, you get Mark Andrews. You don't have to rely. He doesn't have to rely. Meaning Lamar Jackson doesn't have to rely so much on Andrews, which opens up the offense for Todd Monken there, the offensive coordinator there. So I really like this Ravens team. Nothing to take away from the Steelers. Tough win. And at first, when I first looked at it, I thought they were playing in Washington because all the terrible towels that were going on.
Yeah.
I thought that I was like, they're in Pittsburgh, but then nonetheless, great win on the road against a tough team. Going back to back. Oh no, they're in Pittsburgh this year. They're in Pittsburgh this week. So yeah, I still got the Ravens. I like the way Russell Wilson is playing. That running game as well with Najee Harris. George Pickens is getting open. He's starting to love football a little bit more now. So I'm going to take the Ravens, and I don't want to say close one. I think they went by 5. Here.
Yeah. For me, it depends on what defense are we going to get. Are we going to get the defense that went up against the Commanders, or are we going to get the Steelers defense that we know? Because Baltimore's defense, they're okay. They just been struggling basically throughout the entire year. And as far as Baltimore's offense, oh my goodness, if they come how they're supposed to if they play how they're supposed to play, I completely said that wrong and paused on that.
Yeah.
Pause
that for sure.
They play how they were supposed to play. That could potentially become an unstoppable. I'm not going to say unstoppable, but almost unstoppable type of offense with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. Like, my goodness, that is a tough running tandem to try to slow down. But I just don't know if they're going to always play up to par. And I think the Ravens most likely will win, but I'm going to take the Steelers. I think the Steelers are at home. I think the defense has something to prove because they didn't play that great against the Commanders, and they probably should have lost that one, however you want to say that call went. But I like how the offense is going. I still think they need some things to work on, but I will tell you one thing, the Steelers offense is not going up against that Steelers defense. They're going up against a Baltimore defense that has been struggling just a little bit.
Yeah.
I still think it's going to be very close and very, very tight. But Jay, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, look, the Steelers at 7-2. I mean, you got to give them a ton of credit, especially because of how they looked in the preseason. Like, I was like, man, this does not look like a good football team. And for them to be 7-2, tons of credit to that team and Coach Mike Tomlin for sure. But I don't know. I just think the Ravens are better. Like, I think the Ravens have a better team. And this is going to be one of those tough, physical, hard hitting. These teams absolutely hate each other. But at the end of the day, I just think the Ravens are better. And I think Lamar Jackson's going to make a few more plays than Russell Wilson. So I'm going to take the Ravens. I think it'll be close, kind of like what K-Walk said. Give me the Ravens 27-23.
Yeah, I feel like I want to change my answer, but I'm gonna stick to what I said. The Steelers. I know the Ravens are the better team, but for
Yeah.
some reason, I
The
just want to.
Steelers at home. I mean, that'll be tough.
Yeah,
At home, they'll be tough.
for some reason, it's telling me to go with the Steelers, so I'm going with the Steelers. All right, last one, guys. Chiefs at Bills. Your undefeated
Ooh.
Chiefs are at the Buffalo Bills. It's not like cold weather can impact anything because the Chiefs play in a cold weather state just as much as the Bills do. But Jay, what's your thoughts on this game?
Look, we've seen the Chiefs over the last couple of weeks find ways to win, come up with a big play when needed, get a little bit lucky, get a call here and there. I mean, they've won every which way. I think it stops this weekend. I think this weekend is the weekend that it comes to the end. Buffalo's got a really good team. They're going to be playing at home. I think they want this win. And even though Kansas City is undefeated, they haven't looked all that impressive. I mean, you got to give them credit for winning games, but they haven't looked dominant in any way, shape, or form. So I think Buffalo is the first team to knock them down a peg. So I like Buffalo. And I'm going to say this. I like them comfortably, 31-17 Buffalo.
Oh man, I really don't want to go with the Chiefs. I was hoping Jay would go with the Chiefs, so I could go with the Bills, and then K.
You can come on my side, Greg. Come on, take them.
You know what, K. Walk? I'm gonna have you go first. I still need some time to think. Who you got?
I was just looking at the availability of Amari Cooper, and I don't know if he's going to play right now. So that plays big because Keon Coleman, the young receiver out of Florida State, is out. He's been ruled out. So that means that we're going to see Superman, and I don't like Superman. And I mean, when
That's
I
a
talk about
good
Superman, I'm
call.
talking about Josh Allen. I don't like to see that. I like to see him spread the ball around, to his different receivers. But I have to agree with you, Jay. I think they find a way to win. I think this streak is over. It has to be, because they've been winning too many. It has to be. They're not going to go 17-0. This team is not a 17-0 team.
Right.
But with all that being said, I think Superman does prevail. And I think they get it. They find a way to get it done with the running game on the outside. They have to run the ball on the outside, please. Sean McDermott, Josh Allen, call plays on the outside because Kansas City cannot stop the outside of the tackle when they're running the ball. So I'm taking the Bills, and this one in the close one, 23-21.
Jam, y'all said Bills win.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of torn between this one because every time Josh Allen plays the Chiefs, he's always ends up in a close one, and sometimes he doesn't end up winning the game. Now, that's usually the playoffs. The regular season usually, I think, is a little bit different. And that Amari Cooper, if they're missing him, I think that is a huge loss. I do like how they've been playing. Yeah. The defense has been suspect, but the offense has been carrying them. And same thing for the Chiefs. As great as Patrick Mahomes had of a quarterback he is, let's be real, that offense doesn't look the same, doesn't feel the same. It's that defense that carries them.
Yeah.
If Josh Allen can fight through that defense, can overcome that Chiefs defense, which is not easy to do, I think the Bills will win. So you know what? I'm gonna make this one unanimous. And I'm tired of the Chiefs. Let's be real. I'm tired of the Chiefs. I wish somebody would knock them out. So you know what? From here on out, I'm going with every opponent. I mean, unless it's the Panthers or the Giants that's going against the Chiefs. I'm putting it out here. I'm putting it out there right here, right now. So I'm going with the Bills. I think the Bills is going to win this one. I do think it's going to be close, though. All right, real quick, because I know, Jay, I got to throw it over to you. A couple more topics. Not to be too long. NBA is here. We're right here in the midst of the NBA season, right here, right now. I actually think the in-season tournament, I believe that has officially started
Yeah, my Heat are playing the Pistons right now. So.
Yeah, and you see the colorful courts that I personally, it's okay. I'm not a huge fan of them, but it is what it is. What has surprised you the most so far this season with the NBA? Anybody can take it.
I'm going to say the 12-0 start, the undefeated start by the Cleveland Cavaliers. I don't think anyone saw this coming. I mean, we thought they would be decent. I don't think no one thought it would be a 12-0 start. So I guess if that's not a surprising one, I just don't know what is. I don't think anything bigger than that. I don't want to. There's another one out there that I want to take, but I don't want to take it from either one of you. But yeah, I'm going to say the Cleveland Cavaliers and the way they started 12-0.
Yeah, I got two, Britt. I'm gonna say the Golden State Warriors. They're 8-2 right now. I mean, we saw them struggle last year. I don't know if anyone thought they'd be this good this early. So I think that's been a surprise. But here's the other thing, Britt. Teams are playing a little bit more defense this year, and that's been surprising. I was watching the Celtics and the Warriors several days ago, and they were actually defending. Like it looked like they were actually playing decent level of defense. So I was surprised at that. The teams are playing a little bit of defense, and it's not just Matador right now.
I guess that's what happens when everybody's praising the WNBA for their defense. The NBA say we got to catch up. But no, I'm with you, K-Walk. I'm with you with the Cavs. I definitely didn't see it come in. They're a talented team. Let's see if it continues throughout the. We know they're not going to go undefeated, but let's see if they continue to stay first in the Eastern Conference throughout the rest of the season. And I think the biggest thing for me is how tight the Eastern Conference is. Outside of the Cleveland Cavaliers and then Boston is second. Everybody else is separated, and I mean from 3 to 8, because I think the Sixers have that 8th seed right now. They only won 2 games. They're only out of the play-in spot by 2 or 3 games. They're only for the 3rd spot by about 4 games. So for you to be 2-8, dead last in the Eastern Conference, and probably the worst record in the NBA at this point in time of the season, you only got to go on a small win streak to be right back in playoff contention. So that is what's surprising me the most. And a lot of teams are looking, they kind of look disappointing. They're to me very disappointing. And you're having a lot of questions as to why. Prime example, the Bucks. Why? The Knicks, they don't look that great. And it's quite a few other teams as well. And it's a lot of injuries going on across the league as well. So that's very surprising also. All right, guys. Last topic for me. We don't talk about it often, but I got to throw it out there, and that's boxing. The legend, the one and only, the legend, Mike Tyson, the former heavyweight champ, is set to fight YouTube star Jake Logan this Friday, November 15th. It's airing on Netflix. It is live, so if you have Netflix, you can watch it. Some say that Mike is too old. What are your thoughts? Do you think this is a fight that Mike Tyson should reconsider? Or you like, you know what? He's going up against an amateur and Jake Logan. He does box. He's been boxing for the last, I think, 4 or 5 years. Do you think, Mike Tyson is going up against an amateur, a young boxer, and he could school him? K-Walk, I'm going to come to you first on your thoughts.
Look, I don't watch boxing like I used to, but I tell you what, Mike got it. Mike's going to go in. I know Mike. Mike's going to go in for that quick knockout because I don't think Mike's going to be able to last much longer than that. If it does go past the first round, Mike's going to be doing a lot of tying up and a lot of, bear hugging, if you will. And he's looking for that, that one shot, man, because I think that's all he really has. But we've seen practice film on Mike and, how fast he still looks at the age of 57, 58, whatever whatever it is right now. But Mike's got to get him early, because if he doesn't get him early, it might get ugly for Mike. But I can't go against Mike, man, but it's hard. It's not the same Mike. It's just not the same Mike. So I'm going to take Jake in this one, man. I think Jake might get a sneaky punch in there, but I'm rooting for Mike Tyson like no, it's nobody's business, because I don't want him to go out like that.
Man Down Sports said Jake Paul or Logan Paul. It's Jake Paul.
I knew he meant.
Jake Paul.
I knew she meant.
Did I say Logan? I thought I said Jake.
You said Jake Logan.
Logan. Jake.
Oh, I
You
said
said
Logan.
both first names.
Yeah,
we knew what you meant.
Go pick up.
Y'all know how I am with these names. But yes, Jake Paul. I know. Look, I know Mike is a little old, but I was watching his workout videos, and he hits hard. If Jake Paul doesn't doesn't protect himself and he gets hit with one of
Great
those
kick.
punches,
Yeah.
he might get knocked out quick. So I know Jake Paul has been training. Like I said, he is a boxer. He trains as an actual boxer. He has been in other fights against. I'm not counting MMA fighters. I don't care what you did against an MMA fighter. That's like if Jake Paul would have went into MMA ring, odds are he would have lost.
Yeah.
That's the two different types of games or two different types of fights. So odds are MMA fighter will lose in a boxing ring. That's not their skill set. But I will give him credit where credit is due. I will consider him a amateur boxer, a young boxer. But Mike Tyson, I understand he's old. He still got that mindset of I'm gonna kill you. And
Yeah,
and I don't know how old people think or how young people think about older folks, but they strong. They are strong. You can say what you want. It's like that strength does not go away. I watched videos of the old man fighting a young man, and next thing you know, the old man is like, okay, I'm about to teach you something today, and knocks him out. So I'm gonna go with Mike Tyson in this situation. I think it might be a little closer, but I'm gonna go with Mike Tyson because I think if Jake Paul is not careful, he get caught with that hook. It's gonna be tough. Jay?
Well, Britt, you started this out saying some people say that Mike Tyson's too old. I'm part of that some. I think he's too old, Britt. He's 58 years old. And one of the tricky things about getting older is your mind still feels the same. Like you still in your mind think that you're as quick as you used to be, that you're as sharp as you used to be. But the reality is that you're just not. And I get it. Jake Paul is not what we would call like a serious professional boxer, but he has fought a lot of fights and he's big and he's strong and he's 25 years old. And I just think Mike's only shot is to catch him early. That's his only shot because and I just don't like you start getting hit in the head at 58. Like it's not the same as getting hit in the head when you're 20 years old. So I think Mike's got to be really careful. I don't want to see Mike get hurt. And I don't know. Like I don't think Mike's going to win this fight. The only thing too, though, is you just don't know about these fights. Like you don't know if it's like promotional. You don't know if they've got some kind of deal going into this thing saying, hey, let's let it go several rounds for the fans. Like, so I don't even know if it's like a legitimate boxing match, but if it is, I don't know, man. I just don't think you should be 58 years old and getting into a ring and getting punched in the head. Like, I'm just not a fan. I don't think Mike wins this thing. I think Jake Paul wins it.
Especially coming off that back injury, too, man. Coming off of that back injury.
Oh, Mike Tyson, if you hear him, you got doubts. You got doubts.
Yeah, I'm doubting you, Mike.
They didn't watch you train. You got doubts. Woo.
And Mike is still one of the like most intimidating, scary. Like, you know, Mike is the kind of guy like you don't want to meet in a back alley or anything like that.
I was watching a clip, and you know how boxers they try to get into each other's head, right? So Jake Paul buys Mike a pigeon, you know, because you know Mike Tyson always been into his birds. You know, Mike Tyson was like, "Oh, thank you." He started grabbing the pigeon and checking him out. He was like, "This pigeon this is some cheap crap." He said, "You know what? I'm gonna feed this to my falcon." Like, wait a minute, what?
Got that mentality.
Mike's a crazy guy.
He is an intimidating guy. I'm not going to doubt I'm not doubting Mike Tyson. I'm not. I know he's old. I know he's up there. But like I said, he's strong. He still got a decent amount of quickness. And I agree. He needs to get him early. He is saying he plans to kill him. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I don't know.
DMJ Brooks. Oh, Mikey going to knock out Jakey.
I don't know. I don't know.
I'm rooting for that.
I'll
be early though.
Yeah, I'll be watching. I'll be cheering for Mike, but he better get him early because that conditioning. I don't know.
All right, Jay, I'm going to just throw it over to you. I know normally we go into a break, but I'm going to just pass it off to you to take over.
All right, yeah, Britt, I only got a couple topics to talk about, but we talked about Coach Prime earlier as a potential head coach for the Dallas Cowboys. Let's talk a little bit about what he's doing at Colorado. Because they've been winning and because some other teams have lost, Colorado now controls their own destiny to win the Big 12. And if they do, they're going to be in the college football playoff.
Right.
It's really that simple. So, K-Walk, as you look at what they have left, I think they got Utah this weekend, who's not a bad football team, but certainly not a great team either. Do you think Colorado runs the table, wins the Big 12, and gets into the college football playoff? What do you think their chances are?
I think they do, Jay. I think they're favored in their last 3 games, if I'm not mistaken. Not saying that matters or anything like that, but they that gives them confidence, going in. Not saying that they would have been, less confident had they been underdogs, but I like this. I like what they have in front of them, because I was posing the question. I'm like, I think these guys may pull it off, meaning get into the playoff on the top 12. And I want to see that. As much as I don't like these guys off the field, I love to watch them on the field, because they bring a tremendous product to the to the game, to to the field, to the viewers, because it's kind of like the Cowboys. You either watch them to lose, or you watch them to win. You root for them on one way or the other. But I want to see this. I think it'll be huge for the college football playoffs. So with all that being said, I guess maybe some of my hoping and wishing is going to play a part into my picking. So, but yeah, I still think that they can get it done. They'll get it done. They can get it done, and I think they will get it done. Especially the way that they played against last week against Texas Tech. So I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, another high-scoring game. I think all of their games will be. I think they have that offense to sustain any type of offense that they go against, including Utah. Utah has one of the best offenses in the country. So I'm going to say yes, they can, and yes, they will.
Yeah. Look, first, I think you got to give Coach Prime a ton of credit, right? When he found Colorado, they were 1-11 and arguably the worst program in college football. Like, I mean, you could literally make that argument. In just 2 years, he's got them at 7-2 and a chance to make the college football playoff. So that's huge. The thing I love, though, about college football is it never goes how you think it's going to go.
Right. Exactly.
It just doesn't. And even though they're favored in all 3 games, there's just something that I just feel like they're going to slip up along the way. I don't know why. I hope they don't. I root for them every week. But college football is just crazy, and upsets happen all the time. So I would not be surprised if they got upset sometime over the next 3 weeks. But Britt, what do you think? Do you think Coach Prime can pull it off? Can they get into the playoff?
I was a little nervous against Texas Tech at the beginning of that game, but they ended up turning it around. And I said, okay, this is the Colorado that I've become accustomed to during this season, not last season, just this season. If they play like they're supposed to play, I think they could beat Utah. I think they could beat Kansas, and I think they could beat Oklahoma State. I really do. I think they can get them in the trenches as long as they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. And granted, football games are not going to go perfect. There's going to be some obstacles over the course of the game. And sometimes we're going to sit back and be like, I don't know about this. But that's okay. So as long as Shador does what he's supposed to do, those receivers, but most importantly, they could give him some protection. I don't know how big these defenses are on any one of these teams. So now that's what I'm looking at. I'm like, if these defenses aren't that great, and I don't think Utah's defense is that great, Kansas or Oklahoma State.
No.
I think their offense will be fine. I think they out of all these teams, I still think they have some of the best players on their team. And then on defense, again, you got Travis Hunter. He's shutting down half the field. So your defense only has to worry about one half of the field. Last week it was called back. I think it was a flag, but the quarterback threw to Travis Hunter's side, and he just went up and caught the football out of the air. And I'm like, first of all, I didn't know you could jump that daggone high. Like, you talking about high point, he completely high pointed that ball.
Yeah.
So if they do that, I think they could win out. And I think if they win out, they just might be able to slide into the playoff contention. And I feel like college football wants that. I feel like fans want it and college football wants it. So I think the NCAA is hoping that they win out.
There's no doubt that they are, like K-Walk, you said, like people either watch them because they love them or they watch them because they're hoping they lose. But everybody's watching one way or another. So I agree, Britt. I think that would be great for college football if they're in the playoff. It's going to bring a ton of eyeballs and bring a ton of interest. Speaking of Travis Hunter, because as you mentioned, Britt, he's been absolutely phenomenal. He is a legitimate Heisman Trophy candidate, K-Walk. Is he your front runner right now, or do you have somebody else in the driver's seat? Who do you think right now is leading that Heisman race?
I think it is Travis Hunter because of what we're talking about right now. Because they are winning right now, and they have the opportunity to get into the playoffs. And I think if you put a guy like this into the playoffs, you got to say, okay, well, look what he's doing. He's playing both sides of the ball, 100 plus plays a game throughout the course of the season. And then when you see Cam Ward, I think who was probably leading there, or at least in the top 2 or 3, go down to to Georgia Tech. You see that, and you're like, okay, well, wait a minute, maybe he's not as good as that we thought he was, or maybe he took a step back, but now they allowed Travis Hunter to catapult him a little bit. But I always thought it was Travis Hunter. I just think what he's doing, we haven't seen this since 1997 with Charles Woodson. Someone to dominate both sides of the ball. I mean, he's just not playing offensive defense just for the sake of playing offensive defense.
Yeah.
He does it effectively, and he helps the team win by doing that and put him in a position to be in the playoff hunt. So, yeah, absolutely, Travis Hunter is my leading candidate right now for the He Is Man trophy.
Yeah, I would agree. I think he's got to be the leading guy right now because, like you said, K-Well, he's not just playing offense and defense. Like he is playing receiver at a very high level. He is extremely productive. We don't necessarily see as much production on the defensive side, but it's because they don't throw at him. So he's not really getting a lot of opportunities because they're not really throwing the ball to his side of the field. So I actually think he's probably a little underrated as a corner just because people are saying, well, he's not getting a lot of tackles. He's not getting a lot of interceptions. Well, that's because guys are covered and they're not throwing the ball in his direction. So I think he's the leading candidate. I would probably have Dylan Gabriel at Oregon, the Oregon quarterback. Oregon's undefeated. They've played like the best or at least one of the top 2 or 3 teams in college football up to this point. So I think he's also a legitimate candidate. But for me, Hunter would probably be my number 1 guy. But Britt, how do you feel about this? How do you see it?
I know was it Ashton Genty from Boise State, I think running back. I think he's in contention as well. He's having a fantastic year. But well, we named all these guys and they're all playing fantastic football, but clearly the number 1 consensus person that I'm about to name and y'all have already named, that's Travis Hunter. I just can't see how you could go in any other direction. I understand he doesn't have the stats for corner, but he's shutting down the half of the field. And every time somebody even attempts to throw that way, it ends up one or two ways, PBU, or incompletion, or an interception. So what are you going to do? So like you guys said, quarterbacks are scared. They are scared to throw to that side of the field. So to me, that should weigh way more than any stats that you can have, in my opinion. And then like you guys alluded to, receiver wise, like my goodness, he's playing incredible. And he is what I like to call a bailout for a quarterback. When Shedeur at times gets in trouble, who does he throw to? Travis Hunter. He's always looking for Travis Hunter. So he's an incredible 2-way player. And let's be real, how many 2-way guys have won a Heisman in years past? Receiver and DB. I would be glad to hear somebody outside of a quarterback winning this Heisman.
So yeah, that's a great point. Charles Woodson, right? Did he win the Heisman?
Charles Woodson, yeah, he did. 1997.
He's like the only guy, right? That
1997
was and he wasn't even as much of a 2-way player as Travis Hunter.
No,
he was primarily a defensive player and played a little bit of offense here and there, right? So I mean, what Travis Hunter is doing is very different than what we've seen. Let me throw this at you guys. I think I know what you're gonna say, but let me just throw it back out only because every week this guy continues to just defy the odds of what he's capable of doing. We've talked on here before about whether Travis will play offense or defense at the next level. Is there any chance that this guy can do both on the NFL level? I know we've said no before, that he's going to have to choose, but I mean, this guy seems like he's got endless energy. He's very good at both positions. Is there a chance that at the next level, he's going to try to pull this off and play both sides of the ball. Anybody can take that.
I mean, for me, there's always a chance. There's always opportunity that you can. So can he do it? Absolutely, he can do it. I don't think anybody's doubting that he can do it. I think what comes into play is the toll on your body, the amount of hits that you are, the amount of reps that you may participate, the amount of games over a course of a season. This is a much longer season. NFL is a much longer season than in a college football season. And he does have issues as it is with injuries. So can he do it? I absolutely believe that he can do it. But is it best for his body and for the long term of his career? Probably not. So, but we'll see. I really think that maybe he'll try to do it in the first couple years of his career. He's young. He's what, 21 years old?
Yeah, he's
So
young.
Right, he's young. But as his career goes along, I guarantee you he's going to choose a side. He's going to choose one quick because the amount of hits that you're going to take, it's going to take a toll on your body.
Yeah, I agree. And K-Walk, we've seen some guys do it in spots. I mean, Deion did it in spots, especially like when he obviously primarily a corner, but played some receiver at times, when the Cowboys had some guys hurt.
Bailey.
Even with the 49ers, did he play some receiver with the 49ers as well? So we've seen some guys do it in spots, but K-Walk, do you think Hunter can be different? Do you think, not that he'd even be full-time, but do you think he can do it maybe more than what we've seen in the past?
Yeah, I definitely think we will, Jay. To be honest with you, I throw Champ Bailey in there. Don't forget about it. He did that as well. But yeah, I think the way that the NFL today is structured, where you take a lot of those hits out of there. I know guys are going to go after him. I know I mentioned in previous shows that guys are probably going to run after him if they see him on defense, try to jam him up, give him some shots if he's crossing, if he's running a crossing route, give him a shot there, just let him know that, this is the NFL and you're going to get hit each and every play that you're here, especially a guy that's come out there and with so much, notoriety out there and everybody knows who you are. Everybody's going to be talking about you. There's going to be one camera on you each and every play. So, a lot of people want to get their fame off of your name. So, yeah, I think we'll see it more than we saw with Charles Woodson, more we saw with Deion, and more we saw with Champ Bailey. But like you said, it's going to be in spurts, and I think that but we definitely will see. I say he'll be primary. In my opinion, I think he should be an offensive guy. That's just me. I think he'll be a defensive guy, though. I think he'll be more of a defensive guy. You'll see a lot of whatever team he goes to, dial up some packages for him on offense. But that's why I think he'll definitely we'll see it a lot more than we have in the past.
Yeah. I'm starting to become a believer. If you would have asked me 3 weeks ago, I would have said there's no way he's going to be able to do it. He's going to have to pick a side. I agree with you, K-Walk. I think he should play receiver, but obviously there's a lot of debate about that. Now I'm starting to believe that maybe this guy can do both. Again, not full time, but maybe more than what we've seen in the past. All right, y'all. Last topic. I want to talk about these college football rankings. They're being revealed right as we speak. I thought they were going to come on a little bit earlier, but they're being revealed right now. So I guess something that jumped out to me, we could start here while they're still revealing like the top 8 teams. They got Notre Dame at 8 and they're working their way up, but Georgia is sitting at number 12 right now. I don't know if you guys had a chance to watch on Saturday, but Ole Miss not only beat Georgia, but in my opinion, they absolutely dominated them. The score was 28-10, but they basically gave Georgia a touchdown early, and Georgia was only able to score 3 points the rest of that game. I guess, Britt, I would just say, as dominant as Georgia has been over the last few years, are you surprised to kind of see them, I don't want to say fall off, but they're a 2-loss football team right now. Is that surprising to you?
That they're a 2-loss football team? Yes, I think so. I mean, look, when you think of Georgia, you think of just pure dog. You think of dominating powerhouse. Ole Miss should not be able to come in there and beat you whatsoever. I mean, but again, what you alluded to it earlier, Jay, it's college football. Anything can happen. Surprises can happen. I am probably a little bit more surprised that they fell to that 12th spot because I still can't get over the fact that Alabama lost to Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
That's just me. And I don't think it's Vanderbilt ranked at all.
No, they're not in the rankings because
They're not even
they've lost a few more since then. So they are not currently ranked at all. Mm-mm.
right. So, and at least Ole Miss is what ranked 11.
Yeah.
So to me, I feel like you could potentially drop Alabama down just a little bit and put them maybe 12 with Georgia up a little bit above them. I just feel like that Vanderbilt loss to me just took the cake away from me with any powerhouse team losing. So I'm surprised that Georgia is at 12. I think they should be at least higher than Alabama.
Yeah, and I feel because that it's like, what do you value, right? Do you look at a bad loss and say, I got to drop you down because you had a bad loss? What the Alabama people are going to say is, well, we beat Georgia. Like when we played them head to head, even that was a crazy game and Georgia almost won it at the end. But I'm sure that's their argument, right? K-Walk, the top teams are being revealed right now. Let me ask you about Indiana because they come in here at number 5. They are undefeated. They don't play this weekend, and then they play Britt's Ohio State Buckeyes in 2 weeks. So I think that's really going to be the litmus test for them. But how do you feel about Indiana being ranked number 5 right now?
No, I like it, Jay. I mean, you gotta the way that they've been playing. I mean, they're undefeated, and the way that the teams have been playing. We mentioned the Alabamas, the Georgias, the 2 lost, SEC teams, and who they lost to, as well. So I'm not surprised that they're at all, Jay, because I think what you mentioned is, they're putting a lot of these teams in a certain position because they're anticipating, and when I say they, the committee, they're anticipating some of these teams losing, and that way these big name teams will slide into there and say, okay, well, we got them on the cusp, but we're expecting this team before them to lose, and then we can move them up into the 9th. And I think that's what they're expecting Indiana to be at right now. And I think with that matchup with Ohio State, like you mentioned, to steal your line, is a litmus test, without question. I like Georgia where they're at right now because a lot of stuff has to play out. But Jay and Britt, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a 3-loss SEC team in the playoffs. I would.
You think a 3-loss team can get in?
I think they can, Jay. I think they can because of what's going on with Miami and all that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I didn't mean to cut you off. I kind of have gone back and forth with that, because I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Right now, there's like 6 teams in the SEC that have 2 losses, and they're going to continue to beat each other over the next 3 weeks. So I wouldn't be shocked if a 3-loss team gets in. So it looks like, just to get y'all's thoughts on the rest of these rankings, Britt. So it's not up yet, but we could assume Oregon's going to be the number 1 team in the country. Ohio State is number 2, Texas 3, Penn State 4, Indiana 5. Do you have any issue, Britt, when you look at that top 5? Do you have any issue at all with that? Would you move anybody? Would you replace anyone? Or are you good with the way the committee has this thing ranked?
I think I'm good. I think Oregon deserves that top spot. They beat, unfortunately, my Ohio State, although it was in a close matchup. They did beat them. Ohio State, I think, is good to beat. They just took that. Oh, it's right there. Ohio State, I think I like them. Me personally, I could be biased, to be honest with you. They should be in that number 2 spot. I'm just curious, should Indiana be up a little bit higher? They are undefeated. They are playing very, very good football.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to figure out, they need to be above Texas, but I'm not sure. I don't know who they have next. Their next couple games may tell us a lot more than the last previous games. So, but overall, I really don't have an issue with the top 5.
Yeah.
Top 5 or 6.
I think if you were going to make a case for Indiana, you could probably argue that they could be above Penn State. And I hate to say that, sitting here wearing all my Penn State gear. But Penn State is a 1-loss football team. We did lose to Ohio State. Indiana is.
What did they lose to again?
We did lose to those freaking Buckeyes. But I think the strength of schedule, I think Indiana coming into the week, their strength of schedule was like 103. Penn State's was like 28. So that could be what is playing with the committee, that Indiana just hasn't played the strength of schedule yet. That'll change once they play Ohio State. We'll figure it out.
Exactly. And that's what they're expecting, Jay.
Yeah, but I think I'm okay. K-Walk, you got any issue with the top 5?
No, I'm looking at it, Jay. No, Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, and Penn State. No, I have no problem with that because, again, all of this is going to pan itself out. I mean, even BYU sitting at 6. We're going to see that pan out as well. I think a lot of these teams that are up there right now are going to fall back, and again, it's going to play itself out without question. And that's why I posed the question: will we see a three-loss SEC team in the top 12?
Yeah, I think it's possible for sure. Go ahead, Britt.
Question, guys, before we got here. Now, Texas, they're showing it, but Texas lost to Georgia, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Got dominated by Georgia, to be honest with you.
And then you guys said Georgia lost to Alabama and Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Should Texas be ranked that high?
It's a great question because when they played Georgia, they did not look good. Like Georgia controlled them the entire game. The thing is, I guess Texas has beaten a lot of other, like I guess everyone else in the SEC. Texas is only a one-loss team. Their only loss is to Georgia. So I don't know, Britt. I think it's a fair question. Fair question, but I think right now I'm okay with it. I'm good with it too.
I think that's what was my question was with Indiana. Indiana has been playing fantastic football, but you guys didn't mention strength of schedule.
Yeah. The interesting one, I wasn't sure how far Miami was going to fall because they've looked shaky every week.
Yeah, every week.
They lose to Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
And they're sitting at that 9 spot right now. I wouldn't have been surprised had they dropped a little bit more just because I didn't think the committee was really valuing them that high to begin with. But I'm okay with it. I think.
Yeah, I think that's why they're there because they still have a matchup with SMU, which I think they'll lose. And then if they so happen to beat SMU, then I think they'll meet Clemson in the ACC championship as well. And I think that might be a loss.
Which they could lose that too.
Exactly. So I see it that way. And that's why I think they're keeping them there. And that's why I'm a believer on they put those teams in there because right now, because of their record, and they want to give them respect, but they ultimately believe that they're going to get beat, and then they're going to have to ultimately put them back where they feel like they really belong.
So if Colorado wins out, who do they replace?
If they win out, they will be the Big 12 champion, and they will automatically be in the college football playoff.
Automatically.
So that BYU, right? BYU right now is the highest ranked team in the Big 12.
Yeah, they're 9-0.
I would imagine the Big 12 is probably only going to get one team in. So I think whoever wins the Big 12 championship is going to be that team. So BYU would probably be out. Colorado would be in.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Good stuff. That was a fun show. That 2 hours went by fast tonight.
For sure.
Before we get out of here, Walk, let the people know where to find you and what you're looking forward to.
Yeah, Facebook, Kevin Walker, ladies and gentlemen. Instagram, Kevin.Walker 142. X, formerly known as Twitter, at Kevin Walker 142. Tomorrow night, you can catch me on Sports Talk with K-Walk, E. Scott. Never Had It So Good Sports Radio, 7 p.m. Tomorrow night, wherever you get your podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Again, at Sports Talk with K-Walk and E. Scott. Never Had It So Good Sports Radio. Looking forward to basketball. Looking forward to Thursday night. I can't wait for that Thursday night game, Britt. I really can't. That's going to be a dandy without question. And then more college football and then more NFL without question. I'm starting to get a little bit more involved in the basketball, NBA. My Heat are playing in this tournament game right now. Looking too good. Jimmy Butler, you're a bum. But and I'm looking for my Tar Heels. Looking for my Tar Heels as well. Great showing against number 1 team last week, man. They lost that game, but the way that they handled themselves, man, I think they're in prime position, man. If they can bounce back with a big time win, they'll be all right. So I'm looking forward to all that, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, good stuff, K-Walk. You guys can find me at Jason Talk Sports on all social media platforms at Jason Talk Sports. Yeah, man, for me, I'm loving the college football. I'm loving college football season. Like you, K-Walk, I'm really looking forward to that Thursday night game, Commanders, Eagles. That's going to be a dandy, so I can't wait for that. And yeah, man, just enjoying everything we got coming up sports-wise. Basketball, women's college basketball is back. I've been watching some of that, so just enjoying this sports time of the year. Britt, what you got for us?
You guys can find me at what can you find me at? Good Lord. IG and X, formerly known as I was gonna say TikTok. X, formerly known as Twitter. At Brittany Monique is at the bottom of my screen. What am I looking forward to the most? I guess I have to say the Eagles versus Commanders. I'm always looking forward to the Eagles game, so I'm not a bandwagon looking forward to this type of game. I'm just playing. But also, what I'm looking forward to, NBA has started. My team is. I gotta wait for Embiid to get his basketball thing going here because he's struggling right now. But it's his first game back, so that's expected. But I'm being honest with you guys. Right now, I'm looking forward to this Duke. I think Duke is getting ready to play.
Yeah, Duke, Kentucky. Yeah, that's
I'm
gonna be a
looking forward
good
to
one.
this Duke Kentucky game. I want to see Cooper Flag. I think he's the number one overall consensus first round draft pick in the NBA this coming draft. So I'm excited for this game. The rest, all right, Wichita Hills. And of course, the rest of the NFL always. So that's what I'm looking forward to most. Oh, and I got to shout out one last comment that we didn't get to read. It was about Travis Hunter. He said he's going to Raider Nation, Aaron Smith. We didn't forget about you. Can I call you AA Rod? No, he's going to Raiders Nation. We'll see about that.
I think he might pull a. Who was that? Eli Manning said, "I'm gonna block that. I'm not going there. I'm not going there."
It's gonna be interesting. He might not even be around by the time they pick because he
you
might
never
be.
know.
He might be first.
They might pick number one.
That's true. That's true too. That's true too. All right, y'all. Good stuff, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate you guys watching. We appreciate you sticking around for the whole show. Do us a favor, hit that like button, share, subscribe, tell a friend. We'll be back here live next Tuesday at 7 p.m. So for Brittany Jones and Kevin Walker, I'm Jason Collins. We'll see you guys next week.
Go Eagles, please.